Hi, my name's Pete, the owner of Pete's Gardening Services based here in York. We're currently at Severus Hill, which you can see behind us with the water tower, which is a Yorkshire water reservoir that hasn't been used in over 20 years. It's a place where there's lots of rare trees, shrubs and wildlife, and is the area of hot debate in regards to its future. The campaign surrounding it, which has been created by the local residents. Today we're going to be able to meet a few of those people, such as Ruth Generoway, who is a friend of Severus Hill, and we're going to find out a little bit more about why the hill is so important and what the future may contain for the hill and the people who live here. Hi Ruth, thanks very much for having us down here. If you could tell us a little bit about who you are and how you got involved in the Severus Hill campaign.
Excellent, yeah. So my name's Ruth Generoway. I live not far from the hill, you can see it from my garden. I became involved in the original anti-planning application, sort of rising up of the community, and then when they were suddenly putting the site up for auction in autumn last year, we basically got everybody scurrying around again going, okay, next challenge. We need to stop it just being sold off, because the most likely thing, who's going to buy it? A developer. At the moment, we're fairly confident that the council would turn down most development projects for the hill. Developers just bide their time. They sit on the land and you never know. Once somebody else has bought it, what's going to happen? The local council has managed to get a pause on the auction. It was supposed to be at the end of last year, before December, so that we had a chance to get our act together, see if we could put a viable bid together. We've had quite a lot of interest. We've had a few sort of community open days at the local memorial hall, and we've got quite a lot of people that live nearby, that have got memories of it, got an active Facebook page, all that sort of stuff. Yeah. So a good team of people have come together with a load of disparate skills, and we're really pulling together. So we've got a community interest company thing set up. Okay. We're going towards being a charity so that we can apply for funding from bigger organisations. But we basically have a time limit. We've got to try and get some funds together before the end of June so that we can put a bid in for the land. Okay,
so what's the big target? What we're looking to achieve?
The big target, Yorkshire Water would like, Keeland, their sister company, would like to make the money back on the land from how much they've sort of spent in trying to sell it and yeah, whatever. So they have given us a target of £168,000.
Okay.
And then we need to actually be able to have a bit of a fund for maintenance and sort of trying to open it up occasionally for nature walks and things like that. So
amazing.
Really, we're kind of shooting for between £168,000 and £200,000, which sounds a lot. And then you realise that there are 200,000 people in York. So it's £1 per person to secure a big 4-acre nature reserve.
So I suppose when you say it like that, it's like if you know the campaign was to achieve sort of a small contribution from a lot of people, you know, the target is definitely achievable.
Yeah, and if we manage to get enough sort of small, medium companies who are willing to put in 5,000 or 10,000, then we could get there. It's just getting the word out to the right people.
Okay,
and
brilliant.
To actually say that what we're trying to do is secure it for the future forever.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
so just while we're here, is there any other aspects of the hill that you feel like are really important parts of why it needs to be saved?
So it's basically rewilded itself. So it's a green space, but it's not a manicured park. People don't go in there, so it's not had human interference. It hasn't been overmanaged, it hasn't been mown. It has seeded itself with trees. The trees have grown over the last 40 years.
Wow.
Wildlife's moved in. We've got bats, hedgehogs, foxes.
Is it tawny owls as well?
Somebody heard a tawny owl. I don't know whether he's resident or she's resident. We've definitely got the falcons come over from the Minster, so they spin around and sort of obviously spot.
Look for some lunch.
Field mouse or whatever as a small snack.
To
take back to their because they often nest on the Minster. So they're feeding their chicks over here and they're coming here for the food.
Wow.
Amazing. And then we do get red kites.
Nice. And
so there must be a good ecosystem if it can support the apex predators.
Yeah, I think so.
There must be a lot of things, the rest of that sort of hierarchy.
It seems likely. And just while we were chatting earlier on, you mentioned that you've managed to sort of garner a bit of support from a local organisation in regards to a conservation area.
Yeah, so the Yorkshire Wildlife Trust, they got a designation. It's not a site of scientific interest, not a triple SI, it's the one below.
Yeah.
A significant site for nature.
Yeah, sure thing.
So it's great to have them on board, but it's not really their sort of land that they'd buy.
So really it's down to the community and sort of, it's a real local sort of campaign to save a local space.
Yeah, absolutely. And if the local people can pull together and get the word out, and it is one of those unusual things within the ring road that you've got a properly wild space that hasn't had lots of interference for 40 odd years. It's just completely wild. I think it's great.
The more that I read about it on the website, the more I was kind of like so surprised that there was so much going on there. I think that was the big sort of like wow moment for me, and actually finding out about the sort of the variants of sort of wildlife, the calcareous grass as well. Calcareous grass, which is meant to be a very rare type of grass.
So you wouldn't normally get sort of limestone type flora and fauna around in York because we're mostly millstone grit and sand and clay, but they lined the reservoir with limestone to make it waterproof. So that's why there's calcareous grass there, is because there's a limestone basin which is there because they lined the reservoir. So yeah, it's a really interesting extra niche species set because it's an unusual alkaline acid sort of balance in there because of the different history that it's had.
Wow, so we're looking at a really valuable location for a number of different reasons, and also a campaign to fight to try and save it. So this is something that York can really get behind, and if we garner enough support, then we can potentially get to that target and save it for generations to come. So that's quite exciting prospect, isn't it? I suppose it's just
an exciting.
Getting to that target.
We've only got 2 months.
Well, this is well worth saving, I think, just from what you've told me today. So best of luck with the campaign, and we'll keep a close eye on how it all goes and the progress, and look forward to chatting to you again soon.
Yeah, friends of severushill.co.uk.
Wondered if you were able to just introduce yourself, tell me a little bit about your involvement with Severus Hill in the campaign, and just let us know a little bit more about what's going on.
Yep, so my name's Joe. I would officially class myself as a friend of Severus Hill. I was there at the early stages last year when the site went up, and we managed to get the councillors to rally together, and we went and spoke to the landowners and managed to get it paused. So my main interest is that I live just the other side of the water tower from here, from the mural. And when the site came up for auction, it was a case of, well, we either let it go or we do something about it. And my kids, I'm a dad, and my kids basically said, well, what are we going to do about it? I've got a bunch of natural little historians in my house. So it was a case of, well, you either put up or you shut up, don't you? So so I was there, and one of the chumps who put their hand up to say I'll be involved. So what we like to say is, if you have an interest in nature, if you have an interest in the environment, and you have any awareness of the hill, you're already a friend of Severus Hill. So a friend of Severus Hill is a very loose term. It's anyone who basically says, yep, I'll put my name to that, I'll put my money to that, I'll put my time to that, to make sure that remains as an environmental green space. So that is the loose term of friend of Severus Hill. The more defined term is we had to set up as an organisation so we could fundraise. So we set up as at the moment, a non-profit company, and there are 4 directors, of which I'm one.
Oh, right, okay, amazing.
So we set up as a company, but then beyond that, there's a steering group. So there's a group of about 15 people or so who are basically saying, I'll write a grant, I'll deliver leaflets. And then beyond that, there's about 60, 70 residents who've said, let me know what you want me to do. And then beyond that, there's a Facebook group of 700 people. So, you know, as I say, it's a loose term, but ultimately, if you have any interest in that hill remaining as it is, if not better for the environment through conservation, then you're already a friend. So
we were chatting to Ruth earlier on, and she mentioned the amount of people living in York, and said that if everybody donated just a little bit, I don't know, maybe the price of a coffee, I suppose is the classic thing, you know, that the hill could be saved and people could enjoy it for a long time to come.
So the way I like to think about it is, you know, you'll pay £8 for your Netflix subscription. What will you pay for your fresh air subscription? What will you pay for your wildlife subscription so that birds keep coming into your garden? Because if we lose that, we'll lose, you know, a huge amount of the environmental benefit that brings, and a huge amount of the wildlife. You
Absolutely,
know. So, and potentially, you know, endangered hedgehogs that are on the site. We could be actually helping in the preservation of those animals for the future of our country.
I'm completely sold on that, and I think when I get home tonight, I'm gonna make a donation based on, you know, what you've just said, because actually I totally agree. From what is something that we could, you know, take or leave on a monthly basis as a one-off payment to save this space. It's a no-brainer, really.
And as a city, you know, if you're involved in city planning, if any resident in this was in a meeting that was involved in city planning, and they said, what should our city include? There'd be very few people in that would say green spaces, and not just parks, because we've got great parks, but wild spaces as well that allow animals to exist in an urban setting. You know, creatures come in, they live among us. But if we manicure the spaces so that they're parks, lovely parks, but if we manicure them, we lose that wildness, we lose that biodiversity. Ruth probably said, there's a whole bunch of stuff up there that you'd never plant in your garden. Why would you plant that in your garden? But up there it makes sense, so let's leave it. You know. So in terms of the campaign, so we launched a crowdfunder back at the beginning of April. So we're 30th of April now, we're a month in. And once some money goes in today, we'll be at about £28,000.
Wow,
that's what we've raised. That's what we've raised. In a month, we've raised 28,000.
That's amazing.
It's a good start.
It's a good start.
It's a good start. We're applying to tons of grant givers, saying, look, this is urgent. We've been given 6 months. We've got till June. What do you say?
So if you could say one thing to York residents now, what would it be?
Well, let's live in a city where we value the spaces, where wildlife exists, where our children walk around. I mean, this space has been locked away for 40 years, so there are people much older than me that have memories of this space. But for 40 years, we've had no memories of it because it's been locked away. It's been a bastion of nothingness, and wildlife has done the work. Now let's make some new memories with it. Let's allow ourselves access to the site in a very careful nature. That means we can make memories, we can value and celebrate this space in a way that it deserves to be.
Well, I think it makes so much sense just from what you've said today, that the York community rallies round and chips in, and hopefully we can save Severus Hill.
Yes, please.
Thanks for talking to us.
Pleasure.
Cheers.
Absolutely pleasure.
So, Friends of Severus Hill, we've got a website which is severushill.co.uk, or you can look for us on Facebook and Instagram. Basically, we just want lots of people around York to value this wild space and maybe make a donation. It could even just be a £5 or a £10 donation, just to show how much the community really want this space. That it isn't just like, we'll just sell it to a developer.
Amazing.
We'd like to keep it.
Get donating, folks.